property myth and lie I actually believed for years. And I think everybody starting in the property space believed in this because it was an old system or programming from my parents' generation. When you first started out investing in property, typically we start in the residential space, which is totally fine. But in the 1950s, going to the 1980s, the value of property went up and rent went up with it. So you got better returns than you did today. And the idea was, and at the time when this came out, was that you invested in a property a year. So you bought a property every year and the value of the property went up. You then refinanced, took out the additional money, added some of your own deposit, bought again, did it the second year, did it the third year. And the idea is over 10 years, you buy a property once a year. The property one that you started with, by the time you finish it over a 10-year period, have doubled in value. Property 2 has doubled in value. Property 3 doubles in value the year after, the year after, the year after. So the idea is ultimately you then sell down the first 5 that you've accumulated, pay off the last 5 that you bought, and then live off the income. Now, that was a big lie in this market because it doesn't work in this market anymore. Why doesn't it work in this market? Value's still growing exponentially, right? But the thing is, rent isn't growing exponentially. Look at it now. Like if we look back about 5 years ago, in around Sydney, you could probably still buy the average home for around 1 to 1.5 million in a really good suburb, right? That property is rented out for probably around maybe $800 to $900 a week, right? You're buying $1 million to $1.5 million, probably around $1.5 million. In terms of the purchase price, you're getting around $800 to $900, and $1 million you're getting somewhere around $600, $700 a week. Now, that same property today is worth somewhere between 2 to 2.2 million. Your $1 million property is worth about 1.5, 1.7, right? Firstly, that's a huge jump for someone who's trying to service and buy that property. So you have to come up with additional cash, right? Additional deposits, right? That deposit can amount to anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 in terms of buying a property right now. So there's a lot of money to outlay, and a lot of people can't accumulate that money over a 5-year period, right? Then on top of that, rents have grown, but not to the same level. Now, when you look at a $1.5 million property becoming a $2.2 million property, that is almost a 60 to 70% gain over a 5-year period. Now, rents have not gone up, right? If that rent was $900, it should technically be today $1,500, $1,600. It hasn't gone to $1,500, $1,600. It's gone to about $1,200, right? Now, a $2.5 million property, you get $1,200 in rent. So you're actually getting, in proportion, less rent versus how much the property has grown. What does that mean? That means that value has grown exponentially because there's more people wanting to buy the property, pushing up the prices, but there is lack of people being able to afford the rent. So you couldn't put a rent up that much, right? What does that mean in the future when you retire? It means that in the future, when it actually comes to retiring, you are going to have a lot less income than when you thought you was going to have when you start the process. Let me explain how and how you can safeguard yourself against it. Now, my name is Helen Tarrant. I help everyday Australians become wealthy and financially free through commercial property investment. I help them through 3 pillars: cash flow, growth, and uplift. And if this video is relevant to you and you want to know how you can fast track your retirement journey and get your cash flow freedom cash flow figure as soon as possible, then booking for a free strategy call where we can personalize all of these strategies around commercial property to you and build you out a blueprint and give you a crystal clear vision how to get there. Now, that was the old way of investing. Buy a property every year, value goes up, rent goes up, you now sell the property at the end of your retirement phase, you pay down your debt, and you live debt-free off your 5 properties. Multiple streams of income, it increases almost every few years, you can then sail off to the sunset. However, right now, if you were to do the same, let's say you accumulated and you were able to pay down a $2 million portfolio with no debt, and now you're living on $2 million of value of property, or maybe $5 million, whatever that is. The net return in residential is only 2% at the moment. By the time you take out the cost of your insurances, your property management, plus all the things like rates notices, and just basically the cost of maintaining that property, you end up with a 2% net. So on every $1 million, it's $20,000 you get put in pocket. So $2 million, you get to live on $40,000. $40,000, not a huge amount of money to live on when you're retiring. If you want to travel, you want to maintain your household, you want to give something to your kids, you just want to live and enjoy your life, not a lot. You probably need to double that, right? You probably need at least $80,000 to $100,000 to be comfortable in retirement. And that's not talking about traveling business class or anywhere else, right? That's just your everyday traveling economy, try to maybe in a motorhome, but at least a good standard of retirement, right? Now, how do you get to 100K through property investment versus doing it in residential where you're only getting a 2% return? Now, in commercial property, you can triple that. On every $1 million, you literally get 6% net return. So if you paid off $2 million of debt and you're living debt-free on properties, let's say on 2 properties, and the value is $2 million, you're literally living on $120,000 net income. Because guess what? The tenant pays for all the outgoings, so there's no outgoings for you. There's maybe a little bit of maintenance, but the bulk of the maintenance is done by your tenant. So if you kept $20,000 as a buffer each year for both of your properties, you can live on $100,000 passively, comfortably, and knowing for the rest of your life, you'll have that income, and it indexes and grows every single year by anywhere from 3 to 5%. Now, in residential, that doesn't happen. So think about it. Is living on $40,000 what you want, or living on $100,000 what you want? If it's the $100,000 that you're looking for and you're chasing, you don't need to go and buy a property every single year. Wait 10 years, pay it down, and then retire. You can literally get there in 3 or 5 years by investing in really good quality properties that may be 2 to 4 commercial properties that you can utilize in both the cash flow, growth, and uplift strategies that we use here at Unicorn Commercial Property. Then you could sell off maybe one, pay down the debt, and gradually using the income to pay down the other one, that you ultimately may end up with 3 properties and a lot more than $100,000 in passive income. Now, how do you get there? What kind of deposit do you need in commercial? How can you lend for it? All of that is a separate video that I'll be doing, and you'll be able to check them out. But also, if you want to find out the answers right now, you can book in for that free strategy session where I can tell you what kind of properties you're going to need, what areas, and also the type of loans you can get. Even though you might not be able to get it right now in residential, you can still get loans in commercial even though you can't service. So the magic of commercial is some point after the age of 50, when the bank loses interest on you because you can't service, you've got to switch to commercial. Look at the cash flow component because you're heading towards retirement. So the lie about buying a property every year, grows in value, sell it, and living it off is a meager existence, right? You want a higher level existence, a comfortable retirement. You don't need 5 properties. You don't need 10 properties. You need 2 to 4 really good commercial properties that give you consistent cash flow, diversified across Australia, different types of property, different tenants with versatility and value. That's what's going to get there. And I can help you create a plan and give you crystal clear vision, tell you what to invest, how to invest, and the criteria and the profiles of that property. We're the only company in Australia that knows how to plan for the big picture, re-engineering it back, and give you the characteristics about the first one. It's never about the first property. It's about the second, third, and fourth property to come, right? So if this is what you're looking for and you're looking to get there fast, then join one of the largest communities in Australia on commercial property investment. And we are here to share with you webinars, live meetups, education about how to get started in commercial property for a small fee per month. So click the link below. Otherwise, book in for your free strategy session. But in the meantime, do realize that commercial property can get you there faster and can help you get more cash flow in your retirement. So you don't need to buy one every year. In fact, bought strategically over a 5-year period, you set yourself on the pathway to retirement, and you can actually retire in half the time you would in residential through commercial property investment. So click the link, book in for your strategy session, or join our community, and I'll see you in the next video.